Are you still on the fence? What are you waiting for? Go to AmericanDreamTrading.com and get signed up right away for the Gold VIP membership, where Mark McSee provides you with the latest news, updates, company profiles, economic calendars, so much more. Everything that you need to make an informed decision on how to invest your hard-earned money. Go to AmericanDreamTrading.com and get signed up today.
Uh, 207.80 up. Let's go really low on this one just to give you some room. 207 to do. Okay. But if you look at the trend, right, of what's been happening with NVIDIA, if you take your overall trend, it's been to the upside, leading up to, I always talk about this, always leads up to earnings, but typically it's buy the rumor, sell the news. So you've got to be extremely careful.
Yes. And that though is exactly why I like for traders to use Apple, right? Because it isn't that much volatility. You know what I mean? You could have 100 contracts at Apple, but it moved a penny. There's $100. You have 100 contracts at NVIDIA and it moves like that, right? That's 5,000. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's make it rain.
Join American Dream Trading's live trading weekdays 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. Welcome to the Aftermarket. American Dream Trading. You have entered the Aftermarket. AmericanDreamTrading.com. Welcome. You are now in the Aftermarket. Welcome to American Dream Trading's The Aftermarket Live Chat and Watch Party. I'm your host, J&J Video Reacts, and this is the stream that you want to be at tonight. Why? Because we are going over something that is an issue for a lot of people who have not made it in trading, and that is they work too hard and not smart. There's a couple of tips and tricks that we can give you to help you work smarter, not harder. So welcome to tonight's show. Get ready to learn something. Sit back, relax. That's what the stream is for you to kick back, let your hair down, and relax and decompress after a day of trading, okay? So with that being said, there are 3 links located in the description of this video. That is AmericanDreamTrading.com. You can go there and get signed up for a VIP membership right now. The 6-month plan is only $1,500. And if you get it now, Coach is including a VIP upgrade. The VIP Gold 6-month upgrade will go along with that free. And who is Coach? Coach is Chad W. Christian, 32-year stock market vet who has traded in every market condition imaginable. And he is the reason why we're here. He founded American Dream Trading, to which we are all members. And if you're not a member, then you need to go over to that link and get signed up right away. But yeah, definitely go over there and get signed up, guys. It's just, if you've ever wanted to learn how to trade, if you want to leave your 9-to-5 job, this is the way to do it. So the second link is the Restream link. I'm going to go ahead and post it in the live chat. It is in the description of the video, but for some reason the link's been acting weird lately. So, but Ange, you got up here. So yeah, because we got Ange waiting in the backstage. What up, girl? So apparently it's working. So if not, let me know down there in the chat and I will repost it right directly here from the live stream. And the third is yours truly's tip jar. Any tips in there are much appreciated, although they're not necessarily, they are definitely appreciated. It helps us keep the lights on around here, guys. So thank you for any tips that you think I'm doing a good job. Put something in the jar. If you say a cuss word, you need to put something in the jar. It's that simple. But anyway, welcome. Let's go ahead and see what we got going on. All right, let's get Ange in here. I always make sound effects when I'm doing stuff. Welcome. What's up?
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you for asking.
Yes, you are. Yes, you most certainly are. How'd you do today?
I did very well. Very, very good. Got all what I needed out of the market, and I took some time for myself and did a little recharge today. You know?
That's awesome.
Very often, especially during the week.
Right. Sometimes you got to do that.
It was good. It was very good.
Just to decompress, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And now I'm ready to get back to it tomorrow and call it a day, right? Like rinse and repeat.
Sweet. So you took the day off from trading?
No, I traded today, but as soon as I was done, I was done.
Out of there.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
I can probably count on one hand. So, okay, I've probably never done it willingly, right? Like there's, things that you have to take care of versus just saying, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get what I need and I'm going to be done.
Right.
And stuff.
I completely got you.
Yeah. I think after 8 months of grinding my gears for 24/7, it feels like I felt like it was just a minute that I needed. Right.
Yeah. You got to do it.
And
you got to have balance. You've got to have balance. You really do.
Yeah.
And that's part of working smarter and not harder. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with that is taking time for yourself and having balance, getting proper rest. And I know we joke about being team no sleep, but you do have to have proper rest if you're going to get up and make a day of this and get into this and be in your right mind to trade, because it takes like laser focus to get in and out of trades. You're dealing with a lot of mental stress throughout the course of the day. And if you don't get rest, stress on top of no rest, that's not a good combo.
It's a combination. An absolutely horrible combination. Like I even took work off today, right? So I took work off today because I wanted to feel like what that was like to start my day at 2:30, get what I needed out of the market, and it was kind of a fun day, right? Like we all kind of like let loose a little bit, and just we're like real people doing this real thing together, right?
That's awesome.
What I needed, I had my goals set, the market worked out in my favor that I could get it done fairly easily and fairly early. And then then I got to decide the rest of the day how I spent it. Like Nate likes to go sit in the park and watch people. I think I kind of like the idea of having my time. And that's a complete like 360 from where I was probably say a month ago, right? So like it's shifting. Things are shifting, right? So
that's good.
Yeah, I think I'm opening up to that idea.
I mean, and the funny thing is you were like scared of it or apprehensive about it because it was the unknown. It was something that was, okay, well, what am I going to do with myself? And sometimes you don't have to do a damn thing.
Right.
But just exist. And then anything else that you find to do within that makes you happy is a bonus.
Yep. 100%.
You know? Absolutely. So what do you think about tonight's topic? Work smarter, not harder. What kind of tips do you have for people? What helps you work smarter and not harder? Because you definitely are a master at working smarter and not harder. I'll tell you that.
Well, to me, it's so basic. I mean, and I say that in an absolute nicest way. Because, I mean, I get asked this all the time, like all the different things, right? It really just comes down to how bad you really want it. How much and how hard are you willing to work to get it? How long are you willing to work to get to that point? And, I use today as an example. Like, I feel like I've spent the last 8 months busting my ass to learn this thing. And I was going to take a minute, and I felt really freaking good about it.
Yeah.
And working smarter, not harder. Absolutely. And that comes down to being disciplined, following the rules that are given to us that are, every single day, and just getting in here and doing it.
Yeah. That's it.
I don't know how the hell else to say it.
I don't know that there is any other way to say it, Ange. That's it that's it in a nutshell. You know what I mean? You got to take time, and planning your day. We talk about working your plan and planning your trades. This is one way that you can also work smarter instead of harder, is planning your day. Planning your day, planning your trades, and making sure that everything goes to plan. That's just like Mark McSee this morning. He would not rest until they had those dinner reservations made, right? But at the end of the day, when you think about it, you've got to do things ahead of time. You got to get them done, because if you're trying to do stuff last minute, if you're looking at a trade and all of a sudden you decide to just jump in because somebody calls it out and you didn't plan that out, you didn't chart it or anything, you're going to end up losing money.
Right.
They would have ended up showing up down there looking at each other with their thumbs up their asses, like, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? If, he didn't take the bull by the horns and just get it done. Right. Not that it wasn't being done, but, a guy like Mark, he likes to have things done way ahead. Nate's the same way. So that way they can just fall right into plan, fall right into it. That's how you work smarter. Get up a few minutes, or if you're going to be on at 4 a.m., get up a few minutes earlier so that you're able to be there at 4 a.m. or a little bit sooner. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that, and I talk about, you've all been on my journey with me at this point, right? Like, from, I think the first time I was on here was in March, maybe, or no, May. I think it was May.
Yeah, I think so.
And coming in here, like, super shy, like, didn't really say a whole lot, not much expression, to, like, fast forward to now, now we're at a different stage in the trading journey too. Right.
And you seem a lot more comfortable on camera, just talking and just kind of chilling with us and everything. It's not as intimidating. That's
it's
awesome.
not something that you would never see me do before. Like, I joke still to this day, like, I'm typically the person that sits in the back of the room chewing my hair, hoping that nobody freaking calls on me. But working smarter, not harder. Now things are starting to shift, where now I'm incredibly confident with what I'm doing with the scalping, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just adjusting position size, making 16 trades in a day and getting that down to 8 is awesome, right? And seeing how many times can I do that I can get it down to that, because I don't want to be in here all day. Never thought I would say that either, right? You asked me that like 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and I would have told you I'm going to be in here from the time I get up in the morning until aftermarket.
You said it a couple of days ago. What the hell?
I know. But that's the point, right? Like, things change, right? And you start looking at things differently because you've put in the work. You're working smarter, not harder. And so all of it has to come together, and it's not just the trading aspect of it, like for myself, right? Like, instead of doing some of the stuff that I was doing at the end of the night before I go to bed, what would happen is I would get super excited about the market open, that I would have trouble going to sleep, which then would turn that into a really short night. And then to get up and start my day, and then be tired the rest of the day because I just didn't get enough sleep.
Right.
So now I get up earlier, because I know what I need to set up and have ready for the next day, because I've taken the time that I need to get those things accomplished. I know how long it's going to take me. I can get those things done before market open. I can go about my day as I need to. And at the end of the aftermarket, when it's all said and done, I then decide how much homework I'm going to do. I decide if I'm going to sit and review L2s, or if I'm going to say, you know what, I did what I needed to do today. I got my studying that I could do during the day while the market is dead or slow or whatever the case may be, because I'm not doing
I'm going to go take some time for me now.
So I can just take the time during the day, mute the Zoom, do the trainings, take my notes, review those more volatile L2s that I record. And I don't need to do that at night anymore because I've done the work.
Yeah.
And in essence, I'm working smarter, not harder. I'm doing that stuff during the day, and then I get that time back at night.
Yeah. And let's go back to the 16 trades versus 8 trades. That is a huge work smarter, not harder feat right there.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
over trading leads to losses, really.
Yes, absolutely.
So whittling that down is huge. How'd you do that?
Just position size and confidence, right? At this point, I feel like I've put enough hours into it, and I'm not like a master scalper or anything like that. Like, that's going to take a long time to get to that point.
Own it, damn it.
I'm not a master scalper.
Own that shit. Yes, you are.
But my point is, though, right? Like, I've done enough work to get myself to this point where I can adjust my position size. Mm-hmm. And we hear Nate talking about it too, and he's on the next level, right? And I like to say that I'm like chasing his coattails. I don't want to be Nate. I want to be Ange, right?
Yeah.
And I'm my own adventure. This is my story, right? But to have a leader like him to follow his coattails, and to be able to see what he sees and do the work that he preaches and continue to put the time and the energy into it and not add all the extra bullshit or crap, whatever, all the things, and to see it come to life.
Right.
Take a nugget from here, a nugget from here, a nugget from someone else, whatever, and add in those things, because now I've taken what I've learned from Nate, and Mark with the charting and things like that from the pre-market. Now, you and I discussed the indicators a few months ago and utilizing them properly, and look how that's changed. That's, again, working smarter, not harder, right? I didn't realize I was doing this way harder than I needed to. Now I've added these little nuggets of things in, and like now every time Nate says something that strikes me, I write it down.
Yeah.
And then when whatever happens and I'm ready to receive that and actually apply it, then it comes together. It's like, oh, okay, this is great.
Right.
And so then in the future, right, like when it comes time to maybe start learning options, right? If that ever happens, the same thing will happen. A timeline will be put in place, and the same exact process will happen. Again, chasing those coattails of how Nate has done it, right? Everybody does it, has had their own path, but it's still Angela's path. But it's just following how somebody that I admire.
There's there's some footsteps already there.
Yes, and just being open to it, because what does he do? He also works smarter, not harder.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Look, the funny thing is, one way to work smarter and not harder, and, Coach may disagree with this, but maybe he won't. I don't know. But the L2, come on. When you think about putting tons of lines on your screen, Nate doesn't use any of that, and neither does Coach. That's one thing that helped me work smarter, not harder. I put lines on my chart, but I don't put a ton of them. I'll do the high a day, low a day, and that's pretty much it. Pre-market high, pre-market low, and then, look at the whatever they did for the pre-market setup. That's about it. Other than that, I'm watching the L2. Where are the buyers sitting at, and where are the sellers sitting at? Where are the levels? Instead of going in and putting on, and I love both. Don't get me wrong. I love both because there's historical data that's not showing on the L2. So you need to be able to compare that to something when you see something on the L2, just to verify and confirm that that's truly what you're seeing. But that is a way of working smarter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it whittles a lot of the white noise down. And hey, look at this chart. Where do you see the buyers sitting at? Where's the biggest area that buyers are sitting at? Well, guess what that is? That's support.
Yep.
Instead of trying to sit there and figure out, it's this many cents and that many, they're sitting right there right now, guys. Aren't we day trading? Aren't we trading in the moment? That's where they're sitting at now. This is where, when you chart, this is where they said at yesterday. This is where they said a month ago. But right now, this is where they're at. What's more important at the end of the day, right? Is where they're at now. So that is working a hell of a lot smarter than sitting there spending hours putting lines on something. And then when you could just look at, they're sitting right there. It's like, okay, damn. It's not what am I charting for, because it's always good to chart. I'm not denouncing charting, but the L2 does make it a lot easier. It really does. I can't trade without it. I really can't. I'm talking options too. Like today when SPY was going down, and I'm trying to sit there and figure out, gee, where's SPY going? Let me go back and look at this chart and put a line. I just went to the L2. What is the L2 telling me? The price is going down. That means the buyers are getting what they want. They're bringing the price down to them. Oh, wow. Look at time and sales. They're paying less and less and less money for it. Ding, 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 ding. Not a whole lot of rocket science there, guys. It's going to continue going down. Let me stay in it. That's how I took a $47 contract to $172. It wasn't rocket science. I watched the L2. The shit was going down. It's that simple. And it was showing me that it was going to continue to go down. So if you haven't learned it, you need to take the time and grind and learn it so that you can be in a position where Ange is, where in the next 6 months to a year, whatever time works for you. You don't have to do that because you already know it. Oh, who do we got? We got a treat. Here he is. Let's pull him in. Wait a minute. Come on, cursor. My cursor hides from me, Ange. It really doesn't like it.
You need one of those like football finger things as your
cursor. I have one that's like the size of this, but sometimes it shrinks. That's and I'm awesome. Like, what are you doing?
Palm Coast saves the day. I gotta go run a kid to sports. I'll be back. I'll pop back on when I get back here.
Okay, babe.
Thanks. I made the handoff.
I know, right? Was that just a relay race or what?
No, but it was great timing, and I'm going to listen. I'll be back.
Okay.
Catch you later.
So, did you hear the topic?
Yes. Work harder, not smarter.
You got it.
Yeah.
But do you agree with that though, Palm? I mean, it's like you can look at the L2, man, and just see stuff right there. And you can also use the chart. But if you're at a quick glance, I was just telling them that's what helped me stay in SPY. I'm looking at it. I'm seeing the orders being put in for lower and lower amounts of money, and the time and sales is correlating with that. I'm like, okay, this thing's going to continue to. I knew it was going to 360. Because it kept showing me 360 down on the lower levels of the L2. I'm like, shit, they're bringing this thing down to 361. Is that 360? I didn't stay in it that long because I was listening to you, because you were saying, listen, this is not a normal thing happening here. Support is right here, so be careful. So I took my money and got out.
Yeah, there's, there, Nate looks at only the L2.
Yeah.
And that works really well for him because he goes in for very short periods of time and has a larger position size. And if you're going to try to transition further with a smaller position size, then obviously you got to watch for more, right? You have to go back as far in the chart as you can. Once it breaks below, a multi-day chart, then
Right.
you have to go find out where a harder support or resistance was. But the thing I find for working smarter, not harder, is a lot of, there are some things that you just simply have to work hard at. You can't do like body shop repair on cars and be lazy. You just won't have a job at the end of the day. You can't be a stock person at Walmart and not put stock on the shelves. It's just unavoidable. But
Right.
when it comes to problem solving and stuff, I find that I have to not make the same mistakes over and over, because when a person makes the same mistakes over and over, they're working hard all the time because they're making the same mistakes.
I agree. I completely agree. And as a person who has done that, that gets to a point where you're extremely frustrated with yourself. It's like, it's not only something that frustrates those around you, but you're the one that's going through it. And I remember getting to a point, Palm, where, Nate would communicate with me and he'd check in and be like, how'd you do today? Well, I lost $100. And it would be like, well, how'd you do that? And it would be like, because I stayed in a trade way too long. And the sad part is, Palm, I made money in the trade and let it dwindle. And then not only did I let it dwindle to zero, I ended up in a deficit situation. So many times, like I started to think I was literally mentally challenged. I did it that many times. And I'm like,
yeah,
why am I doing, like, why am I out of control? Like, that I can't just get out of the trade? What is happening in my brain that I allow that to continuously happen? And yeah, I was definitely working. Listen, because now you've got to make up for losses, right?
yeah,
Instead of just waiting, being patient, waiting for proper entries and setups, getting in, and maybe not staying in it until you lose money. How about when you see that you have a decent amount of money for you and it starts to topple, you shed or you get out, whatever floats your boat. It's really not that hard, but we make it harder.
yeah. With almost everything in life, right? It boils down to some things that we bake into our own mentality and the way we go about things, and whether it's finances, relationships, stock trading. If we make the same mistake over and over, we're just going to be working at the same things a lot harder than we have to.
It's insanity.
And I'm not saying it because I read it somewhere. I'm saying it because I've done it just so many times.
Yeah.
No,
it really is insanity, because I was talking to Jen, like, Jen, I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't know who I am. And that scares me, I was losing large amounts of money that we needed to get bills paid, and put us in a bad situation because of that. And we're finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel with that. But I'm like, what? But it took me going through a period of insanity to get there, But and Nate and I were talking earlier, it's like there's a point where you get to it where you quit, you walk away. I see why 95% of the people, if you can get past that insanity point and you've taken these huge losses and you still come back for more, and you manage to start turning a corner and start accepting what you're learning and actually applying it, and it's starting to work on smaller levels, those are the people, I think. I could be wrong, but I think those are the people that make it, because then they just build on that success. And then why would you leave?
Pushing yourself to the point of desperation allows you to purge your mind and receive the information that it takes to go a different direction. So, like boot camp, they do it with the military. They wear the guys down. They put them in a desperate situation. They break them down, and then they build them back up. Sometimes difficult things just have to be that way. If we've got some things that are entrenched in our life that aren't conducive to being successful, then somehow we got to break that down. And I like when people encourage each other to be persistent, because being persistent, especially with paper trading, it doesn't cost you anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that level of frustration can cause you to just be like, what the fuck am I doing? And it's like you say, it's just like, it's like I go in at the wrong time, and it's like as soon as I go in, and sometimes it's just a bad day and stuff, and then you get so irritated, so agitated that you're like, I can't keep doing this.
Yes.
And then I've got to find a way to make this work. And then people find themselves, quietly listening, or going back and just rereading and re-listening to the same things they've been hearing over and over, but for some reason then it sinks in and it sticks.
Yeah.
And then all the little nuances too. Like you guys were talking about difference between like trading on trends and scalping. It sounds like Ange is determined that she wants to be a scalper, because she's been highly consistent with trades now. So but in any event, yeah, I mean, you get where I'm going.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, and with that, the cool thing about Ange is it took, and everybody seems to fall into this whole unicorn thing where, oh, well, it should only take me a few months. It only took Ange like 6 months or a few months or 3 months. It only took Nate, a few months after he first got it. And it's not that it took them a few months. It's like they piled a lot of work into those few months to actually get that good in that period of time. I don't think that it was anything that had to do with intelligence or luck or anything. I think they were that determined to get that good. And it happened pretty quickly. And to your point, it happened because of desperate circumstances in a couple of their cases, not necessarily with Nate and Ange, but like Jimmy. I remember hearing about I wasn't here when he did it, but I remember hearing about him losing most of his account. Yep. And being in a situation where his back was against the wall.
He was desperate.
Yeah.
That desperation winds up being just a real gift.
It's a catalyst.
Yeah, I mean, it helps us. It helps us shift our entire mindset. So
yeah, that army or military analogy was genius. I like that. That was brilliant, because that's one of my favorite movies is G.I. Jane.
That's a great movie.
I love that movie, and it's like, they really break, and not just the whole, girl power. It's not that. It's he breaks not only her down, but she breaks him down too. You know what I mean? Her drill sergeant. Everybody breaks everybody down. It's pushed to the breaking point. When they were smacking that guy's knee, oh my God, I could feel it for him.
Yeah.
But it was like they break you down to the point, and at the end of the day, the ones that had made it were like the traitors that make it. You know what I mean? They're walking off the battlefield. They made some money finally, and they're holding it in their hand really tight, but they're all beat up and bruised, from the war that they were just in. But they've got that money now, and they figured out how they got that money. And the next day they're going to be a little bit cleaner when they're walking away with that money, because they're not going to take as many bumps and bruises. Take
a look at a lot of the success stories in the group, over the course of months and months and months. The people that have had the most success are the people that have either been in a situation which has given them that desperation to empty their mind completely and just simply execute on the strategy, or they have put themselves in a position where they're mentally boot camping themselves. And we heard, I think Eric Smoto was he mentally boot camped himself. I mean, I think it was because of an injury, right? He was pretty much laid up and in a position where, he was looking for something, and he just wanted it so bad. So he mentally boot camped himself, went and watched every single video. I mean, that's hundreds and hundreds of hours of video. There's a lot of video to resource, right?
And what else was he doing? He was laying in bed.
Yeah.
So he had the time.
Might as well lay there and listen to it and immerse himself in it. He mentally boot camped himself. and he purged his mind, and and then really went after it. The people that are taking the longest to find profitability, the people that struggle the longest, and coincidentally, the topic for tonight, work the hardest, are the people that don't boot camp themselves or have desperation or the a la carte. There's things that they want to do, and then there's things that they don't want to do. And they want to take the things that they want to do and pick the cheesecake off of this table and the shrimp off of this table. They want to kind of buffet their way through. And then they sit back and wonder why they're losing money on their paper trading account, or struggling, or can't get their head around it, or whatever. And to use Angie's term, effectively half-assing it. And I'm like, you got a whole ass it. Seriously, you got to put your whole ass in there, and all together, head to toe, jump in the pond.
You got to put your whole ass.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, work harder, not smarter. A person's going to work harder as long as they insist on repeating mistakes, as long as they refuse to go back and reanalyze the current situation that they're in, and see how and usually they continue to make the same mistakes because they miss something in the situational analysis.
Yeah.
So if you can't, the better you can analyze the situation that you're in, the better plan you can lay to get out of it. And then the third thing is that you have to verify. There's people that come up with a plan, they work the plan, they make the same mistake, they don't verify it, and they just keep working the same hypothesis over and over. So,
and journaling is basically what I'm taking from what you just said. Because if you're not journaling it, you're leaving data on the table that you could be using to help yourself get better.
And days later, you're not going to remember. So if you're journaling, just unconsciously, you're writing down things in your situation, what went wrong, what you did right. You're writing all that stuff down, and then you're writing down what you're going to do the next day or the next time you get in the situation, and then you're writing down days later how that's working out, because you're either making the same mistakes or you're not. So it's pretty simple. If you're making the same mistakes, you're working harder until you learn, and you don't have to. If you have 100 sticks in a bundle, you don't have to. You don't have to break down the entire bundle at once, but you can break one stick at a time. And the reason I know this is because I have done that in different areas of my life. I have made the same mistakes over and over, and just became frustrated with some things, whether it was learning, going to work for a new company, whether it was way back in my early days of trading. There were things I didn't even realize I was doing it. So,
wow.
Yeah, we learn from these things. We learn from these things because we do them, and then we want to share. We want to share that in hopes that it will help others avoid the same pain.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like our parents, you know what I mean? And they go through stuff, and they're trying to tell us as we're a kid growing up, don't do this because, when I did this is what happened, and it was bad, But as, kids with a natural curiosity, for some reason, we want to put our hand on that stove. We want to feel for ourselves that heat. You know what I mean? And it's like,
crazy.
it's like, it's okay. That was hard. Instead of being smart about it, my mom just told me not to do that. So how about I be smarter and sidestep that? No, I want to work hard. I want to see what's going on. I want to go through the pain too. You know what I mean? When we really didn't have to. So a lot of it's programming. A lot of it is programming. We follow what we see. We follow what we are drawn to, and what's around us. And if I watched my mom make kind of foolish mistakes with money, chances are my financial blueprint's not going to be that good. You know what I mean? And if she was the only example I had, then maybe my financial blueprint. But then at some point, just like with trading, you have to take responsibility for your losses. You have to take responsibility for the fact that you didn't put the time in, or you didn't register it properly, or you're, like, to your point, half-assing it or sidestepping it. And now you got to put your whole ass in it. You got to accept responsibility. Mom's gone now. You're a grown woman. Make your own choices better, because now you know the better choices to make. Can't keep blaming, BS. You can't keep blaming mom. You can't keep blaming, oh, well, Spy did that. No, Spy didn't do anything. You allowed yourself to get caught up in something that you weren't ready for, or you didn't recognize. So you did that. Spy didn't come make your hand click that button. So
Yep. Yeah, a personal example. I mean, you can't be a good trainer if you can't be vulnerable. And so along that line, when I was much younger, I got recruited by a much larger company from the company that I was working for, and I was recruited because I was one of the best at what I did. Actually, I was the best at what I was doing for the area. They recruited the top employee away from the company. They gave me a 40% salary increase to do it, and they took me and put me in one of the most god awful, beat up situations because they needed a heavy hitter to go in and clean up some stuff. And I'm thinking, I got this. I know how to do this. I have all the mechanisms in place. I know what to do. My mind is automated. I can do this without thinking. I got in. And I'll be dipped in shit if I didn't struggle for 2 years. And I was making progress, but I was working my ass off, 14 to 16 hours a day. And I'm like, man, this is bullshit. And I was like, what am I doing here? Well, why? I really need to maybe go find another job or something. And I was feeling like shit because they had seen the results with a different company. And I got to thinking, I was exhausted and I was desperate. I was desperate to either find another job or fix the situation I was in. And then I figured the only thing I have left was in my mind, in my twisted mind, as desperate as I was going to prove to them, because they were saying, well, you need to get this, you need to get this, you need to get this result and stuff. So I figured, okay, damn the torpedoes. I'm going to do it exactly the way they tell me. And I'm going to prove to them that this is a bunch of shit and it doesn't work.
Right.
How fucked up is that? And if you're honest with yourself, I think anybody listening can appreciate that, because we've all done it at some point. So the hell of it all is, I went and did it exactly as they told me, without regard, without any of the previous experience, without doing any of the things that were wildly successful with other companies. And you know what? Within 90 days, the results took off. They had refined a system that worked well for that company. I was hybridizing. I was a la carting. I was the one that was wrong. I was the one that wasn't thinking right about it. But I reached a point of desperation where I emptied my cup completely and did exactly what it took, the way it was designed to be. And because I was so tired, I didn't even have the strength to reach out and try to hybridize it anymore. But then all of a sudden I'm down to 12-hour days. Then I'm down to 10-hour days. Then I'm down to 8-hour days. Then I'm leaving at noon on Friday to go golfing with my boss, because things were running swimmingly and my numbers were through the roof. And he says, one day, it was like the third time we went golfing on a Friday. He says, I never thought we would even be golfing together. He says, I thought you were going to quit. And he says, I was wondering how long it would take you to see it.
Wow.
I'm like, you're an asshole. But that was a very pivotal point in my life that I've kept with me. And even knowing that, it still is difficult at times to completely dismiss what I think I know, to completely adopt and immerse myself. And realistically, I attempted to do the same thing when I first came into ADT. I was going to jam along on some of the things that I was doing, and integrate. I was going to cherry pick the system. And I was like, well, I'm really not doing anything better right away in the first few weeks. But I was like, there's a reason for that. And then I stopped and thought about that situation from when I was much younger. I'm like, I have to purge everything I used to do, because some of it went against the grain. And that's when the learnings from executing this training strategy continued to take off for me. and then it wasn't. Oh shit! It was I don't know, probably half the distance from when I started to here that I had my first 6-figure profit on a trade, and actually had some started seeing 5-figure trades on a more regular basis. And I remember when I was poaching Coach. He's gonna get pissed when he hears this if he goes back and listens. So I was listening to the free version, right? And he was doing analysis and moving along with some trades, and and I saw some opportunities, and it was because of the way he was going around the charts and stuff. And at the time, I was still going in with much too heavy of a position, but I posted on the YouTube a 67K profit for the day. He stood up and took off his headphones, and he's thinking, what the fuck? And not because he's missing out on any money. He's thinking, why isn't that asshole in my paid program? Because I'm giving out free information, you know. And it's like,
wow.
And then he started.
When was this?
This is God, probably at least a year ago. I can't think about when I came in, but it was prior to me coming in, because I was just listening to his live broadcast.
I'm trying to think. I vaguely remember that.
He stood up on his chair, whipped his headphones off, and then God, what was it? And then he says,
I remember him getting pissed at somebody that made a shit ton of money that had not joined. Oh
yeah,
my God.
Yeah. So then
wow.
he knocked some money off on the lifetime or something like that.
Yeah.
And I posted back. I went and signed up and got the lifetime right away. And like I think it was within just a few days of that. And I posted back in the YouTube. I'm like, okay, you got me, Coach. So then I started coming into the Zoom rooms and staying in all day and listening and whatnot. And then, obviously the relationship with Coach and the ADT family grew from there. So
how awesome.
But yeah,
we got Aaron with us too now.
Smarter, not harder. And that's I got to tell you, it's a tough pill to swallow. I'm just glad. I'm just glad that I learned it earlier in life, but I got to tell you, it's not something that we automatically reflect on and go back to doing right away. Sometimes we just keep doing it, and it creeps back into our lives. So if I find myself working too hard on something like that, then I reflect back on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And usually it's because I've let old habits creep in, or I'm trying to a la carte something.
Absolutely. Oh my God, man. That is so funny. I remember that.
Coach is going to kill me for bringing that up.
I doubt it. He's probably going to laugh his ass off if he's not listening now. He might be laughing his ass off. Aaron, what's up, brother?
Oh, not much. Just got back from the market. I had to go grab a couple things just to refresh some ginger and some fruit. Grapes, obviously. Grapes are in season. So, but yeah, just jumped into the, what Palm Coast is saying, and, probably going to repeat, some of the stuff he's saying, about just working harder. But that self-awareness, right? I've always been on the front of my class doing, training the people, doing the things and stuff. And I heard that, a little bit from Palm as well. So I'm not scared about putting in the hard work that it needs, that it needs to be. And usually, harder than the most that are around me, but then also having that self-reflection to make things easier, not where I want to be lazy and not do the work that's in front of me, but find ways that are more efficient, right? That are more efficient, that are going to get you to the goals that you have set for you. So whether that's in life or whether it's in trading, it's all hand in hand, so,
right.
The same traits that I have and the work ethic that I've had in my jobs and in my businesses that I've done in the past it's still applied here. So every day, just being that self-aware and looking at the good trades and looking at the bad trades from your journal, and see where you can improve a little bit. See if you could adjust something that's, still within the rules and still within your risk profile and still within that, that plan that you have. But I get bored quickly. So I need to okay, well, how can I make this better? Is there a way to kind of make this more efficient, really? That's just that efficiency. And that's where, where it comes in as far as your show, as far as working harder, not smarter, is you just, you got to put in the work. It just doesn't come easy and, it's going to be lazy, but once you start getting it and once you start mastering that skill, then you start then you just you refine it more and more, and then you make it easier for yourself because you're just refining these things. And I don't want to put in in my jobs, I don't want to put in the 16 hours a day when I used to when I was a kid. I want to put in 8 hours a day. And how do I do that? And the same thing with trading. I don't want to sit here all day. I want to get in and out of the market, and I want to still get my goals, but how can I do this more efficiently? So whatever that is for each person, and skill level and strategy, it's self-reflection and going back on your journals and reviewing your trades and seeing where those pieces that you could refine and then just becoming a better trader and a better person in a whole as well. So but yeah, it's a great topic. And as surface as these could be, I like it has a lot to do with ourselves in life too, like how we hold ourselves in life and how we hold ourselves to self accountability.
I'm a little pissed at myself because I didn't, not to cut you off, but I just
good.
I didn't come up with this until almost the very last minute. It reminds me of Runaway Bride, the character in the movie, Ike Graham. He's like, I don't come up with a topic for my column until 5 minutes before it's due. It's like Ange will tell you, I'm always like, God, what should I talk about? So I should have had some thumbnails up that gave some bullet points for this. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting here beating myself up about it. But I'm like, at the same time, we're having a pretty open discussion. So, I think people are getting something out of it. What do you guys think? I mean,
absolutely. Some of the best things are those spur of the moment. Ours when you get a little download or you get that like inspiration. And for me, I'm the same way. I like coming into these things unplanned and letting it just be as raw and
like
as
what happened
possible.
today? Work smarter, not harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, let's use that for a topic. You know what I mean? I just start searching my trading day for things that I learned from, and I journal, and I'm like, that'll be a good topic for people. So cool. Thank you for making me feel better, Aaron. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, it's a great topic. It's things. I mean, all your topics that you've come up with, and we've been chatting about and going over, and all the guests that are on the panel, and any input on the chat and everything. It's great because it gives everybody a little piece to work on. It allows us, that are on the panel and the chat, and to express and get things out, maybe that we wouldn't. And get them out in the universe, get them out there. So, one, we could help one another, right? Because that's the biggest thing in this family is just being able to, people helping people. So if something that I've went through could help somebody, just one person become better, then that's the ball that we want to keep on rolling. So I love your topics, and this is a great one.
Cool.
It really fits one who I am, because I'm always looking for that efficiency in what I do. I don't like to be stagnant and things like that. And that self-awareness and improvement is exactly that. Working smarter, not harder.
Sweet. Ange, how was the game?
I just, we're in the season now, right? Where it's go, go, go now till snow flies and stuff. So, like tonight, Jada's got practice with her catching coach. So she'll do some time with catching and then time with hitting, and then, then she's got soccer after this too, right? So, and then we talk about how we throw in working smarter, not harder. Sometimes you have to learn to adapt too, and throw that in there. And I think that's important too for people to realize that you got to be able to adapt. What is that? Adapt or die, or whatever the saying is. I think I can apply just about everything too, right? It all goes together, or it's all going to fail.
Yeah.
And if you have that mindset, then it's just going to continue that way.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's so funny too, because I was saying that Nate, checks in, and he was like, how'd you do today? And I'm like, I made $125. And he's like, really, and I think, the consistency is starting to be there. And I think he thinks that, I still don't listen to him, but I do. I take in, everything that he says, and I don't process it the same as say you would, Aaron, or you, Palm. You know what I mean? Everybody processes things differently and in their own time, but it's like, it's so cool. It's just like Christina. Everybody's like, wow, Christina has finally, turned a corner. Everybody processes things different. Like, it takes people sometimes 6 months, 3 months to a year. But if you guys put the work in, right? And with me, it was, I think, more so working smarter, not harder. I was putting in a lot of screen time, but not a lot of substance with studying. You know what I mean? So while I'm here all day, I'm not necessarily, I might be editing a video, or I might be, doing something around the house. I'm not always actively studying. So that came back to haunt me in the losses that I was taking. And to Palm's point, when I got to a point of desperation where I kept realizing that me half-assing it was causing me to really put my financial situation in detriment, then it was like, okay, yeah, now I'm desperate. You know what I mean? And nobody's going to reach out and be giving you what they worked their ass off to get. You got to get out there and really take this stuff in, and it's not so much about what this person or that person is saying in the group, as you need to get this down. And once that started really happening, it's like, oh man, it's like so many times I would hear coach say, okay, I only said that for like a year. I'm like, yeah, but it just now resonated. So yeah.
But
But
you also
once
have
you
to be
get
able
it,
to recognize too that there's a difference between quality over quantity,
yep,
and you have to be able to know the difference.
yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people working
I'm sorry.
smarter, not harder. A lot of people think doing a lot of trades means you're trading. No, actually, the less trading that you do and make the most amount of money in those fewer trades, that is working smarter, not doing more trading, you know? So,
And one of my favorite things to do is I've had the privilege of meeting some pretty interesting people over the course of my life. One was like a new car manager at a dealership that sold more cars than anybody I've ever heard of, anywhere. And one was a couple of them are politicians. I had the privilege
silver
of meeting.
medal.
Yeah, I had a privilege of meeting like George Bush Sr., some
Oh,
professional
cool.
athletes, people who had somehow, some way got to where they were, regardless of what anybody else's opinion is of those people, subordinates, political circles, friends, whatever. They've achieved something and achieved a certain level of success in life. So one thing I do, because quite often it's a very limited amount of time, I don't walk in the same circles as those people for financial reasons and otherwise. I met Jay Leno, Oprah Winfrey, Dennis Rodman. I mean, right down the list. Being up in Chicago for a greater period of time, I got to meet some pretty interesting people. And because I had a limited amount of time, I always did one thing, and I said, "What one or two things can you tell me or share with me that was critical or pivotal in you getting to a high level of success in your life?" It can be anything, absolutely anything. And I got to tell you, sometimes it was pretty generic: persistence, hard work. Some of the things. Other times it was just jaw dropping. Some of it was overcoming personal adversity and stuff. I won't go into the long list of things that I've heard over the course of time. So that being said, since when we're talking about a topic, then I like to do the same thing. So every once in a while, you hear me reach out and say the same thing. So I'm going to ask you guys the same thing tonight. When you're reflecting on your own life, and it can be trading or anything else, and we'll just go one at a time. What one or two things do you find that are pivotal and help you to find the most success? Just at least one, and two if you got it. So shout out. Take a second and think about it if you want. But just one or two things that you can share with the group that, and when you reflect on working smarter, not harder, where have you been? Where have you been able to, how have you been able to affect that in your life? I know it's a little deep.
You know something?
A little,
Yeah, just a
just a
tad.
little.
Just a
Shit.
tad.
I'm gonna make you work for it tonight.
Oh my
You
god.
know, I would have to say when I lost my vision. I've done things, oddly enough, since I've lost my vision that I would have never imagine that I did with eyesight. Full eyesight. I have some eyesight, but video editing became a love. You know what I mean? Trading. These are things that I've always wanted to do, but was in a situation where now I can't go out and work and be distracted by work. I have no choice but to sit home because I can't work in a regular job because I can't see a computer, and I can't do a driving. I can't do DoorDash because I can't drive. So it's like I was forced into a corner where it's like, okay, either you crawl up in a little corner and cry in a fetal position, or you find something to do with your time, you know? And one, it's so funny. I was watching a YouTube video and I thought it was really cool how the subscribe flashed across the screen. And for some reason, I'm like, okay, how'd they do that? And so I start looking up video editing and apps to do it. And I'm like, oh, iPhone has something called iMovie. And I'm playing with iMovie. Well, that turned into other more in-depth apps. And the next thing I know, I'm editing freaking videos. And I'm like, what just happened? You know, and it took me getting in a situation where I couldn't do anything else to grow, you know? And then that led to me being in here, you know, because I've always wanted to trade. I've listened to so many countless books and watched different movies that focused on, you know, trading and Wall Street and stuff like that, but not talking about the glamorous aspect of it, like movies. But once I got into it, I'm like, wow, this is what I've been praying for. You know, I asked God, I said, listen, I need to make an extra $300 to $500 a week. And I need that to come from you. What can I do I can't seem to find any clients doing video work. What can I do? You know? And I'm like, you know, well, you know, I always wanted to trade. And that's so funny that the same year I made that decision is the year that Coach went live, you know? And I've always said, and everybody knows, I've always talked about being a millionaire by the time I'm in my mid 50s. And Coach goes live a month after my 55th birthday. So it's like I keep
Crazy.
saying, I'm like, okay, God, you know what? I asked you to make me a millionaire to show me what that would look like in my life, because I know that I'm meant to help people. And one of the ways you can help people is to get in a position where you can actually do something to help them, right? And I'm like, I feel like this is coming. And when I joined American Dream Trading and heard all the stories, the first thing I did was, okay, well, I'm home. This is how I'm going to be a millionaire. Well, what I realized was God didn't give me the money. He gave me the knowledge. He led me to the knowledge. I'm like, holy shit, the universe answered my prayers. Because if I do this right, and if I really, really hone this and really take it seriously, I was given the money in being led to Coach and being given this knowledge now that I know how to trade. That the money's going to be there eventually. So I'm not even worried about that anymore. Getting good at what I'm doing became the goal in that moment of desperation. Getting
So
good at it.
So when you reflected, your choice was to take the difficult situation and use that as the sense of urgency to springboard in a new direction and refine it as you go. And it sounds like you had a lot of mental success, and things embedded in your mind. So once you picked the new direction, that was your sense of urgency to go. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool. Who wants to go next, Aaron or Ange?
I don't mind. I'll go.
Double A.
So I'll add this to, self-awareness, but okay, so my path has been, I guess I had some things, I had good parents and my dad instilled certain things, but along my journey, definitely recognizing things that made me different than others. And the biggest thing I would say that allowed me to find the successes I want and do the things I wanted to do was one, just you got to find your gift, right? Whatever, everybody has different gifts, and one, you got to find your gift, but you have to be, can't be afraid of working hard and putting in, for me, it wasn't like I was trying to compete with others, but it came naturally for me to put in as much work as I needed to do, and it ended up being more than the others. So it, just propelled me into these spots that I wasn't, the ones that people were seeking out for. I was one, the ones that was, that they wanted to have as an example. But that took a lot of time and dedication, and not to be afraid of kind of carving your own path. Right? You can't be afraid to carve your own path and take that spearhead and be at the tip of like an unpaved road and say, I'm gonna go down this road. I'm gonna pave this road, and then hopefully others can see, or just have that courage to go down that road. So, and I've done the same thing as you, Palm. I was always drawn to older people, even as a kid. When I was a kid, my dad always said I was always asking so many questions and, bugging his friends about, just questions that were coming up. And that's what I've noticed is whenever I got around, because another key thing that I always did, I always surrounded myself with people that knew more than me. I was always, I never wanted to be the smartest person in the room, but I always wanted to be able to learn something. And, I made it a point at a young age to learn one new thing a day, and that thing's like always stuck with me until this day. I love recognizing that one thing, or that just like, okay, today I learned, this is what it was, and pay attention to those things, and always keep that forward movement. Never get stagnant in anything that we do, and never be a follower. Being a follower, and most successful people are not followers. They're the ones that are carving their own path. They're the ones that like disappear and they come back and reemerged, and they have this whatever skill or whatever business or whatever that is for them, that unique thing that makes them an individual. And that's the thing that I could add, or how I could answer what you're saying, because I've had a lot of those same experiences where I would want to know what these successful people are doing. I want to know what older people that are smarter than me, how they got to the places that they got to. And then luckily I did have that knack at a young age. So I was able to take advantage of that when inside of my self growth. But, after you ask that question and just kind of go back on a little bit of reflection, those are the key things that really made it a difference. And yeah, times were tough, not tough where it was hard, but tough as far as like, you have to like just disappear from the going, whatever the thing is growing up, whether it's going to the bar for people, or, that thing that everybody does that they just work to 9 to 5. I was the one that was, putting in the work and staying to my course, even though that it wasn't something that was part of the norm. So just don't be afraid to like carve your own path in a sense that, finding your dreams or your gifts to get there. And there's a lot of rules that come with that. There's things that, having good morals and and a good head on your shoulder, being kind to people, energy. But at the end of the day, for just self-awareness and self-growth, just having the courage, run to find what your gifts are in life, and not be afraid to ask questions, not be afraid to carve out your own path. Because in nowadays, especially now, we're probably within 5 to 10 years, maybe 15 years of each other. But, I'm 45 years old. Times are different than they are now, right? Times are a little bit different where, than they are now with the internet and social media, and everybody's kind of just doing the same thing and getting consumed by a lot of things. And I grew up in a small town, and I grew up in we all have our little stories with that, but the being unique, being who you are, finding your own passion and not being afraid of it, not being afraid that you're the only one that does this certain thing where everybody else does it. But that if that's where your energy is at, and if that's what makes you unique, then that's going to be what's going to allow you to find your gift and push you into that spot that people look at, because you're unique. You're the one that's different than the others, and give you that success. And you find, for me, I find gratification inside of that, knowing that I'm able to be examples for somebody, be examples for one person or a group or whatever the case may be, depending on the situation at hand. So that, in a, short term or whatever, but that's essentially kind of what's allowed me to kind of, just be the person I am and find the differences and find these key points in my life is the accumulation of those things that I spoke about. And just not be afraid, really, just especially at a young age, people that are younger than us, and just that, I didn't go to college, I kind of carved out my own path. I dropped out of high school like Coach, but I bought a house when I was 19 years old, so it wasn't like I dropped out and became a junkie. It was I dropped out because I had a different course, I had a different gifts, I had different things that I had my mind set on, and I wasn't afraid to go against the grain in that sense, where everybody's just telling me this is the stupidest thing you could do, you're never going to get a job, you're never going to be successful. But I already had a plan already. I already had a plan to get, it wasn't like I wasn't smart, I got grades, I was bored. I was totally absolutely bored in school.
Tell me about it, dude.
So I was able to kind of so I was able to carve out my own path at a young age, and it worked, and it works for me, and other people, they, I'm not saying that that's the formula that somebody else needs to do, but just to the key point where if you have a passion, follow it. Don't be afraid to follow these things that are that we have passions inside, because those are the things that are really in tune to who we are. When we start just conforming to these other things that are around us, then we lose ourselves, and looking back in hindsight, it was difficult sometimes being like hearing all this stuff from my parents and friends and colleagues or whoever it was, like, dropping out of school and doing things different. But then I look back and like, well, who else was in my grade, in my, my peers at my school bought a house and was successful at 19 years old? I don't know any of them, so it's you can't be afraid to do things that aren't part of the norm. So hopefully that, gives insight to people and courage to really, to do it. And it's not from being lazy and not hard work. For most successful people, that's one of the kind of like things that you hear a lot is, hard work and this, the things that they repeat over and over again. So that goes hand in hand with it. But to have the courage to kind of push yourself into that, and that does take hard work, that does take focus, that does take the courage just to know who you are and say, no, I got a plan. And it might take a little bit, and people are doing these things, and you got temptations here, and you just push off those temptations, but you just stick with that straight and narrow path that gets you to where you're at, and you're really following your passion, and then you could really live your true self, really fulfill this life that we have, in front of us, and take advantage of it in the best of ways, and bless people as we go along this journey. So
absolutely.
So Aaron, if I'm going to challenge you a little bit further, one word, just one word that summarizes what you do when you reflect on working smarter, not harder. What is your one go-to? And if you can do it in 1 to 2 words.
1 to 2 words that just self-awareness and dedication.
Beautiful. That's a great summary of what you recapped. Well done.
Yep.
Well done.
Yeah.
Ange.
So, Palm Coast, I want you to ask me what the question was again, because while I was sitting here, I went like 7 different directions of how I could answer this. Because that's just how my life rolls, right? So
what 1 or 2 things, when you self-reflect on working smarter, not harder, do you do to find success? If it can just be 1. So when you self-reflect on working smarter, not harder, what is your go-to?
So to backtrack, the first question you asked the group, what was that question?
That was it.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went like 6 other directions in my thoughts.
It's really easy to do. This is a complex question, and it
is.
And it requires
I don't even know that I answered it correctly, but that was what popped in my head.
It requires a lot of consolidation of thought. So if you have to explore if you have to explore it a little bit, go ahead.
Christina, what's up, girl?
You know, I think for myself, you know, I'll do the two words, and the main one is discipline, right? Like that's going to be mine, because I feel like if I don't have discipline in the areas that I need to, everything else is going to crumble, right?
Yep.
So if I take a quick step back from all of that, and I really think about it deeply, it's about direction that I want to go with my life, and it's not wanting to conform and to fit into somebody else's box. I want to fit in my own box. And so for me, I have to dig much deeper to find myself so that I can be that person. And if that requires me to unravel all of my inconsistencies in my life, the things that bring me pain, the things that bring me joy, and it's like being a puzzle, a 1,000-piece puzzle, and living your entire life with just the outside 4 squares of that puzzle completed and nothing in the center completed.
That makes
Pretty
perfect
deep.
sense. It makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. And I was at a I'm not going to cut into it too much, but I can totally relate, because there was a point at one time where when I was at work, I was fulfilling somebody else's expectations of me. In my first marriage, I was fulfilling that person's expectations of me. And after getting fired from a job and going through a divorce a long time ago, I sat there at home and I just cried. I'm like, what am I? What do I want? What do I like? What am I trying to do? What am I trying to do for myself? And it just seemed like I didn't have any grasp of any of it. And I was probably in my just past my mid-20s. And so yeah, I mean, if we if we get caught for years going churning out a product for somebody else or being what somebody else wants us to be, that can be exhausting and redefining ourselves. So all I can say is, while you're exploring that journey in your life, whatever circumstances have led you to today, wake up in the morning and decide how you want your eggs, decide what you want to do for the day.
Yes.
Screw everybody else, seriously. I mean, if you feel like running in your shorts at the park and doing handstands and then rolling around and getting grass stains because it feels good, go fucking do it. And then go home and screw everybody else if they look at you funny, and if you feel like in the middle of the afternoon you just want to go and go and get yourself go take yourself to a movie, and and then just go drive in circles around a neighborhood you've never been in because you always wonder what kind of assholes lived in that neighborhood, then you just go do it. But
sit on a park bench and watch people.
Yeah, take that journey for yourself and find and enjoy that exploration and just I mean, really, really great points. I mean, from all three of you guys, really, really great bullet points. It's really good stuff, and hopefully the people listening can relate and have found different touch points in their journeys in their lives as well.
Wow. Christina, did you hear the question?
You're muted, honey.
You're muted.
Yeah. I still can't hear.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a crack at it?
Yeah.
Okay, Verizon.
Actually, you already just touched on it about like screw everybody else. And it sounds stupid, but where I started was I was hungry on my way home one night, and I stopped at the grocery store. And all the time, if I ever made dinner, like if I was hungry, I had to make dinner for everybody, and no matter what I was doing, if I was trying to take a break from work or whatever, when I was driving, and so I wouldn't eat. I'd wait till I left, and I'd go to McDonald's or whatever, and I don't want to do that anymore, So I stopped at the grocery store and I got myself a filet mignon and some mashed potatoes and stuff, and I went home. And everybody was there, and I cooked for myself, and I ate by myself. I didn't offer anybody dinner. I didn't do any of that because nobody ever does that for me, And that was where I started, just taking control of my own self, and instead of worrying about everybody else all the time and doing everything. And I still fail at that. I mean, I still go back and forth. I do that too often, but that was where I started, and then I I just started doing what I wanted, and I stopped driving, and I started trying to trade, and then I found this group, and that was, honestly, that was the thing that was my working smarter. I got in the group, honestly. So,
Awesome.
not a
So
sales pitch, but it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
Christine,
hey, look what
Christine,
you're doing.
when you reflect on something that you need to figure out in some aspect of your life, that you need to be working smarter, not harder, tell me in one or two words what that thing would be. What's your go-to?
One thing that I need to work smarter at, you mean like work?
No, like when you've made a decision that you need to work smarter, not harder at something, what do you do to reflect? What's your go-to?
Oh, I haven't found that yet, because I just talk to myself constantly in my head, and I go over it, and I can't make a decision. I go back and forth, and I stress myself out. So that's my go-to so far.
Well,
trying.
self-reflection is legitimate.
Yeah,
Self-reflection, and it can be a busy space. So
it's always a busy space up here. It's always
Yeah.
busy. Always
Yeah.
stuff happening.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard for me to sit and be with myself and just think. So I have a hard time with that, but I try. I've tried. I've started reading like not self-help, but encouraging type. Things like that. Stuff to help me grow.
Shit, I do it too much.
Yeah.
I do it to a point where I'm almost like a hermit, even from my own wife. She has to come and get me out of this room from self-reflecting constantly all the
Well,
time.
that's what my
But I
thought
enjoy it.
process is. I think I'm gonna go with self-reflect, but I just go and lock myself in my room and stand there and do nothing. But I feel like I have to get away from everybody. I don't know what it is. I feel it's not that. All right, when I was driving Uber, I had a woman in my car one night, and I always ask, how's the temperature, blah, 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 do you want the AC on, are you warm, cold? And she's like, the AC is great, because I'm in menopause, so I'm always having hot flashes. And I was like, yeah, me too. And she goes, the one thing that's really weird, she said, when I went into menopause, she goes, I hate my family. She goes, I love my family, but I hate my family. She goes, I just go and lock myself in my room. And I was like, me too. That's what I do. And it's just like I can't find, since I've gone on this journey, like I have trouble connecting with people that I was with my whole life. I don't have a lot to talk to them about. And I hear them talking, and I'm like, that's so stupid. Why aren't you talking about something meaningful? Like, same old crap every day. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I've grown somewhere else, and they're still there. And so I go and I lock myself in my room, and I just hang out. I don't even watch TV. Sometimes I just stand there and play games. I gamble on my phone. I watch videos. Or I get in my own head, and I take time away from myself and try to figure things out. And it takes me a long time to do that, but eventually I do. So
Yeah. So across the board, it's determination, self-reflection, persistence, and all the things that we do, to try to refine, a way that we can,
There's a key word. We're all trying.
The way we can,
Yeah.
And you keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And we talked about that, a couple months back, clawing your way forward, even if you're clawing in different directions for a while, clawing your way forward.
Yeah.
And finding that path so you can work smarter, not harder. Really great stuff.
Christina,
fight for yourself. Fight for what you want, or what you just fight to try and find what you want, to have the space to be able to do that instead of having to conform to what everybody else thinks, wants, and does. And says,
that was a beautiful
hard.
thing that you said in the testimonial that you did when you said, Coach helped you believe in yourself because he believed in you.
Yeah.
So his belief in you transpired into you and caused you to have more belief in yourself. That was an awesome thing. You know what I mean? So,
because he taught me not to give up on myself, because he didn't give up on me. It gave me goosebumps hearing about that. I forgot what I said, but
yeah, you're like, you didn't give up on me, and that helped me not give up on myself, and that was good. That was really good.
I've heard Coach say it a few times, and that's been one of the cool things I've seen. Once I got in and actually paid for a membership and got to stick around in the afternoons and stuff. when people have found themselves at a point of desperation and coach says, tell me, if you're backed up against a wall, tell me. And more often than not, and he puts money, he seems to put money aside, and he puts all considerations aside, and he does what he can to help that person turn a corner in life. When they reach that point of desperation or that point of motivation, he's there. And how many times, from we've just heard it over and over. And if you're a paid member, you get to listen to stories and see how those things have come around and stuff. So,
and he doesn't want to get call outs. He doesn't want to do the trading. He wants to talk about us, talk about life and things. And no call outs. This isn't about that right now. Who cares?
Yeah, there's times where he just completely scraps that because the thing that's most important to him is the people in the room.
Yeah.
And it's like, where else? When was the last time you enrolled in a college course where the teacher said, if your ass is up against a wall, I'm going to come and make your life right for you? They don't give a shit.
No, they don't
paid
care.
$75,000 a year to be barked at in a room with 300 other people, and fuck you if you don't get it. Excuse my French. I'm probably going to get you censored on your program. I got to stop cursing. But
I'm worse than you.
It is the polar opposite. It's like you come in and you got somebody in the room that legitimately cares about the people in the room. And he says, if you get jammed up, ask. And if he's in the middle of something, the room can be busy as shit. So and somebody will say, Coach, I got an emergency. He silences everybody, drops everything that he's doing, even if it's in a trade that costs him money.
Yep.
Even thousands.
We've all witnessed
I'm talking thousands of dollars to stop and help that person.
Yep.
Where else do you get it?
$20,000, remember?
That one
just a couple of days ago.
Yep. Cost him $20,000 a couple days ago.
Yep.
Because he stopped what he was doing, because taking care of that person has always been his sport. I mean, guys, if you are trolling through YouTube this evening and you're considering a trading group, or you're looking for somebody to support your educational pursuit of learning to take control of your finances, this is it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
If you haven't amazed when we come out of that talk, we're all like floored. We're all like, that was awesome. We all needed that, and we're also amazed because we don't get that. You don't find that, and it's so hard to believe that it's right there in front of you. It's like, wow, like this is awesome. Yeah, you
that's
can't believe
literally how he draws people in with his humanity.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and it's true. It's true. It's not fake.
It's not the trading. It's not the money. It's his humanity that draws people in, and we just happen to end up learning how to trade our asses off.
He allows himself to be vulnerable, and it's his honesty. Yeah. I mean, he's honest. He's honest when he blows it.
He'll tell you.
Yeah. And he'll tell you how. He'll tell you, and you'll see it. And I got to tell you, that takes a little bit of self-discovery to be that vulnerable in front of a group of hundreds and thousands of people.
Look how hard it is just for us to do it, to say, oh, I fucked up or whatever, when we're not the leader of the group. And it's hard, it's hard to tell everybody. Imagine how hard it is for him. And he does it because he knows that's how we grow.
I'll tell you what, somebody said something, I think Aaron said earlier, or was it you, Paul? I'm not sure, but to be a leader, you got to be a leader. But you know what? Being a good follower also breeds good leadership. Because you also have to know how to follow to be able to lead somebody.
That's 100% true.
I've always kind of leaded people myself, but when I saw Coach, I realized, okay, my cup is completely empty because I'm going to allow this, I'm going to allow this person to lead me because I see who he truly is, and he is a leader of leaders. You know what I mean? Just like you, Palm. Let me let him in.
If Bucko and Paul are calling me out for my swearing.
And I think additionally to that too, right? Like the trading community in itself brings us all together with an activity, right? But then you put the connections you have with the whole group, right? Mm-hmm. And each person, part of their story becomes part of yours, or part of someone's journey becomes a part of yours. And it's these little bits and pieces that you can get from each other. We have such a huge community, but there's a very tight group of people within that community that care so deeply about each other. and not just their trading journeys, but their personal journeys too, that you become a part of their story and they become a part of yours. And so that mapping that happens to us as we change, I talked a little bit about myself over time, like for me, figuring out who I am is such a huge, it's an overwhelming piece of my puzzle, right? It's that middle piece of that puzzle that slowly, day by day, each one of these puzzle pieces are starting to connect. And some of the puzzle pieces, it's almost like it's been two boxes put together that have spilled, right? And you're weeding out what fits and what's not.
Right.
And it just so happens that everybody else has this same situation, this same puzzle, or the same situation that's happened with these puzzles coming together. And each one of us are picking out the ones that don't belong, but adding the ones that do belong. And it just so happens that we are all a part of this community, right? And so
it's hard to find. It's hard to find that
it
person.
Is.
Like,
it is.
Yeah, and then look at we are totally blessed. We really are.
Yeah, you all are important you all are important pieces in my puzzle for sure.
It's
yeah, we are. You? Yeah, and I mean, just what Ange said, and that's why I've going down this path of self-growth, and figuring out that I had pieces to the puzzle that weren't mine, that didn't fit in mine. But then when I was open and vulnerable to people, I figured out that I had pieces that fit in their puzzle as well. So just as what you said, Palm, is like the people that we get surrounded with, especially when we become to these places and we are in these vulnerable spots with the people that we build a relationship with, we realize that not only do they have pieces for us, we have pieces for them. And then collectively, we're able to put all of our pieces together and see ourselves in a much better way. So it's just amazing. I love these key things, and we all say these things in different ways, but just to share this and amplify this energy in this group and everything that we're doing is just going to make us so much stronger. And plus we get to grow as people, right? We get to see things that we might not have seen prior to coming in here and talking about things and asking questions and being leaders or being followers and just finding our authentic self. So yeah, it's an amazing journey, and it's just wonderful. So
yep, I would agree.
I would too. Wow. I think that's a good show. Like, you guys think?
That's one for the rewatches.
Yes, I will certainly be rewatching it. This was amazing. It was very therapeutic for me, and hopefully you guys as well. And those of you in the chat, I know I didn't interact with you much tonight, but hopefully you all got a lot out of that. And yeah, definitely put this one on your radar and watch it sometimes. I'm going to share it with other members of the group. Talk to them about, hey, listen, guys, go check out the Aftermarket from last night. It was, it was a session. I'm going to share it for sure. So anybody else have anything else they want to add?
Dawn, in the short time I've been joining you in after hours, and I get in when I can, tonight I've seen probably several hundred comments. I mean, really good comments from people listening in tonight, sharing their points of view, sharing their struggles, relating to different things. So as far as like a group of people interacting and stuff, anybody that was participating and chiming in tonight, thank you everybody for listening tonight. Thank you for posting your comments and your thoughts. And some of it was expressions of painful experience, and some of it was challenges and stuff. But there was pretty good depth in comments across this evening too. So I've been watching a lot of that scroll across tonight too. So really great, really great all the way around.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up the question. And it all surrounds trading though, but then it is these deeper moments that we can have in these conversations. So I appreciate the in-depth conversation. I really enjoy those.
I live for those.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's me and you, Don, and a lot of people that are here probably could relate to that as well, because that's what's making us so strong, because we're finding out that we're kind of all on this same journey, and we're all finding out this in different ways. But what has been amazing is this group, ADT Coach, has put this together because he's on that same path as well, and he's collectively allowing this to become what it is and grow. So I appreciate everybody on the panel, everybody in the chat. all of our members, all of our non-members, anybody that's going to be joining. And I just got one last question. Was Christina eating an Otter Pop?
Yes.
Other than that, I'm good.
It looked like a freeze pop or something, right?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. Hey Don,
Yeah.
thanks for
Christina.
Yeah, I love
thanks
you
for
guys
being
all
such
so
a great
much.
yeah, thanks for being such a great host as always, and thank you for letting me be a part of the evening.
Thank you for being a part, all of you. I love all you guys. I'm gonna go dig up Coach's rules and end the show with that as we normally do. Hold on 1 second. Yep, I found them. So yeah, no, thank you guys, and yeah, see you guys 4 o'clock in the morning.
Be
And
there,
I
be
screen,
square.
yeah, man, I screenshotted the comments so that I could go back through them and read them. Palm, thank you for basically giving me that idea to do that because I'd like to maybe do something with those. So, yeah, peace and blessings, guys. Have a great night. See you guys in the morning.
Very
Bye,
good. Take care.
everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
See ya.
We go rogue. Some of the rules that we have to and live and die by in here is do not lose more than 1 to 3% of your total account value in any given day. Make sure you have stop losses on each and every trade, regardless of shares and or options. Make sure you guys are practicing small base hits. Don't go for home runs. Allow the runners to run and stop out the losers. If you're a new trader, make sure you are paper trading using a simulated trading system such as Webull or some of the other ones that are out there. If you are an expert trader, please make sure you also are being careful the first 3 minutes and the last 8 to 9 minutes of the day. Those are the absolute most volatile times in the entire market. Also, if you're a newer trader, please don't trade in the first 30 minutes or the last hour of the day. Those are the most dangerous times.